Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 51. Jay smiling, you just heard my voice crack just ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly.
So this is 1 week after our anniversary episode. Happy to still be here, man.
Absolutely, we're still alive.
Well, you're still alive.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. Because last week, if you remember, we were going to try out a new segment for Jay. We were going to get rid of Indie Corner and we were going to add Jay's all-nude sexy time review. That ain't happening anymore. Not only did Jay shock and appall me, but
many others, but most importantly,
his mother.
My mother.
His mother, who doesn't listen to the show, however, read my description in which I said Jay's
This is my fault though, because I copy and paste your description usually sometimes on Facebook to post
spelling grammars and all.
And I usually edit it, but for some reason I don't know what it was. I think I don't know. And I skipped that part when you were describing sexy time. And looking back on it, I was like, ugh, yeah. I didn't realize that family members do see this because it's on Facebook and nobody's on Twitter following me.
So just to let you know what the description was, it's now been edited out. The description said, Jay shocks Dave with his new segment, Jay's All-Nude Sexy Time Forum, where he describes a scene from a film that is definitely one of the worst things Dave has ever heard. That involves sex, incest, and a very special time of the month.
So, I'm not going to call out my mom really that much, but like, a lot of key words here. I mean, disgusted, perverted. She thought it was a porno film for one thing.
NC-17, she was close.
She thought I had a serious problem. The devil has control of me. It's disgusting and vulgar. I need to stop immediately and have some self-respect. And
Jay, you got to get right with God.
I'll tell you. I was just like, oh,
now,
God.
To be fair, your mom does work for the local church, correct?
Volunteers, yeah. Yes.
Jay, you need to filter your sick, perverted mind.
Oh my goodness!
And you need to get yourself right with God.
And over the years, she's the only one that's ever caught me watching porn. And of course, as a kid, dial-up computer, family computer, the search engine, the history. Oh yeah. I wasn't savvy at the time in deleting that clear history thing, but
little does she know that, like, if she listened to the show, she would have heard about your drunken debauchery nights in Philadelphia. She would have known about your one night stand.
I feel like I really need to go incognito a little bit more with this show in some degree. I don't know exactly who listens to this show as far as my family members, because I don't really see them very often, and the ones that I have around, they don't listen to podcasts. So I'm happy that my mom, I think, just read the description and did not listen to it, because obviously, as you guys know, it was pushing it. And our good friend Christina at the beer store, she had a good conversation with me and wanted to bitch me out.
Can I
cut in, please.
Can I be honest with you for 1 second?
Sure.
Everything that happened with Christina was staged by me.
No.
She's never listened to the show. I gave her all the info.
No.
I set that up. just so she could mess with you. She's like, I want to fuck with him. What can I do to him? And I was like, well, boy, do I have a story for you.
She was so disappointed because I told her that my mom already bitched me out about it.
All an act.
And she's like, oh, that just, took the wind out of my sails. I really wanted to bitch you out about it and blah, blah, blah. And talking, but the funny thing is, she said she watched all these movies. She saw The Dreamers. She saw Eyes Wide Shut, all these movies I thought I was talking to her about, I want to talk about this movie maybe at one time and this one and this one. And I'm like, well, you've really watched some obscure stuff. I'm like,
Jay,
kind of impressed me.
I IMDb'd the Dreamers for her, and she wrote down.
My God.
And she wrote down.
You're usually in and out of that place. You really went there with some homework and just gave it to her.
And she wrote down Bertolucci's name. And
Jesus
she
Christ.
wrote down the name of the film, the year it came out, who starred in it, and she's like, I'm going to use this against him.
Oh, my God.
I know.
I can't wait to see her again now.
Here's the thing. I'm always working against you.
I kind of, well, that's what the thing I told her. I was like, I kind of got a little turned on by seeing Dave get squirmish when I was describing the movie.
Wait, don't say turned on.
Not turned on. Well, we're talking about sexy time right now, so I'm like starting to get, no. But not turned on, but like I was kind of enjoying seeing you get a little squirmish.
So join us
not
next
the
week.
squirmish type.
Join us next week when Jay will no longer be my co-host. It's not that I have anything against the gays.
The gays.
I'm just saying it the way your mom would say it.
Oh my God. I don't get me started with her because, oh gosh. Yeah.
Get right with God.
Old fashioned. I keep forgetting how old fashioned my family really is. Yeah.
Oh man. So
very conservative.
So awesome.
Oh God. Yeah.
Jay, when you sent me those texts, when you screenshotted those texts and sent them to me, I read them to Lauren, and me and her were, I kid you not, we were
dying, right?
We were on my floor laughing. We were rolling on the living room floor laughing, and my daughter could not understand what we were laughing about. God. But I mean, dude, I was dying laughing at those text messages.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was definitely the highlight of my weekend, and that's what's sad. That was the highlight of my weekend. Not seeing Spider-Man: Homecoming, getting those text messages, and dying laughing.
Well, if you saw Baby Driver, maybe.
No, I didn't get a chance to see Baby Driver.
No, you're welcome though.
I did get a chance to see 47 Meters Down though.
Oh.
Yeah. It was okay.
Decent.
It was
worth a watch, probably.
Yeah. Far more believable than
The Shallows.
The Shallows.
Okay.
Far more believable.
That's what I was going to ask you because I still have yet to see The Shallows, but I love Blake Lively, so I want to see it regardless.
Poorly acted, though. I would say 47 Meters Down, poorly acted.
Well, you got Mandy Moore, so.
Yeah. And Matthew Modine. He was also in The Dark Knight Rises. Matthew Modine. But those are the only two people of note in the film. I mean, honestly, it like C+ max, if that. No.
Yeah, but I get that for a shark movie.
C-.
It is what it is.
C-. Yeah, it was what it was. I had a.
That's definitely an HBO movie for me, or no matter a Netflix movie for me.
It killed 2 hours in air conditioning for me. That was it. 2 hours in air conditioning.
2 hours though?
Well, no, it's almost like 90 minutes. So
I was going to say
90 minutes.
It's got to be like an hour 30, hour 40 kind of minute.
But I mean, it was okay. And then I've been doing my research for our next movie cocktail. I watched Starship Troopers, and to my surprise, while looking through my collection to find Starship Troopers, I found Starship Troopers 3 Marauders. And I was like, why do I own this? And then I remembered, oh yeah, I worked at Blockbuster. So for a time, we were either destroying copious amounts of DVDs, and I would always take one, or it was in like a bundle of like 7 films for $12.99, and it's like they're all used copies. And I was like, so fuck yeah, hell yeah, I'll watch that. I'll for $12.99 I'll buy 7 films, and 2 of them are stinkers. Who cares? Either way, I wound up owning it, and I was like, yeah, why not give it a watch? I'm doing some research.
That's a job that I wish I had.
So here's the thing. While watching it, I was like, God, this is really bad. But then I downloaded and watched the second one, and yeah. Starship Troopers 3 is way better than Starship Troopers 2. Like, miles better. And they're both terrible. So just imagine how bad Starship Troopers 2 is. But Starship Troopers 1, fucking gem. Fucking love it. I can't wait till we talk about it. And
it's soon?
For that episode.
A few weeks?
Well, we're talking about next week.
Well, I know, but I mean,
come out in August.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing that. And then, really, what I've been watching is I've just been preparing my body, Jay. Like, I've gone into a Zen state. I have purged myself of all toxins, and I have been just gearing myself up.
Are you going vegan?
For Game of Thrones Season 7. So next week is going to be, I understand we're a movie podcast, and I always justify this as saying Game of Thrones is the most cinematic thing you can watch on television right now.
I concur.
Next week, we are doing a Game of Thrones centric episode just about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll still have beer, we'll still have Indie Corner, but
I think it's pretty safe to say that most of our listeners are avid Game of Thrones watchers.
Absolutely. So our first segment, we will be talking about Game of Thrones, reviewing the first episode. And then our last segment, we're going to talk about our favorite episodes. We're not going to do like a top 5. We're just going to talk about our 3 favorite episodes.
Loosely just spitfire about
Absolutely.
them. It's not the kind of shows where we're going to like, there's no real rankings. I mean, they are what they are. It's just pretty much just talking points, story points, character points. That's it,
So what I've been doing to get myself ready for Game of Thrones season 7 is I'm not rewatching the whole series like I've done in years past. I've rewatched the entire series to get myself caught up to where I am now. I've seen the series so many times, and last year I watched season 6 maybe 2 or 3 times total, especially Battle of the Bastards. Like, I've watched that many times. And
it's a perfect episode.
Yeah. And so instead what I did was I went on YouTube and I found all the history and lore of Westeros from seasons 1 all the way up to 6. And I've watched those, and those are hefty. Those are about an hour long because these are DVD documentaries that are put on there. And each one, each season they compile them together and put them on the DVD as special features, but you can find them on YouTube. I've been watching those, and I've been getting deep into the history and lore of Game of Thrones. And then I went through HBO and I watched my top 5 episodes, the episodes that just, fucking do it for me. And then I went through and I just watched all of HBO's extras that are on demand. Dude, I am just getting ready for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I've never rewatched the seasons. So making up my top episodes list is going to be a little bit more tricky. So I will do my homework as best as I can. And it'll be fun to, recap the seasons and the shows that we like and talk about what's coming up forward.
Jay, other than biblical TV shows to cleanse your soul, what have you been watching this weekend?
I was away up at the mountains, so I was not watching anything. And I mostly just watched, Spider-Man, Baby Driver in the theaters. And then at home, I was trying to get into some Netflix series. The big hit right now is Glow. I'm only an episode and a half in. I hear that you have to get through the first 3, and then it kind of starts picking up more.
No, actually, I enjoyed it from the beginning.
I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm 2 or 3 episodes in on Gypsy, the Naomi Watts film. That sounds like it should be right up my alley, but it's not. It's just a little too boring, a little too melodrama. It's a little disappointing for me, and so some trial and errors. I guess I'm going to give them up. I mean, I feel like why bother? I might as well just keep continuing on with another different show, or I hear Flaked might be fun to watch. I'm going to give that a go. And just TV shows. And I should be rewatching Game of Thrones anyway. So
you should be. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I do that all the time. Like, me and Lauren just watched the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. I love The Walking Dead, but Fear the Walking Dead, it was just so boring. I was like, why am I doing this? And I realized most of the time that she's watching it, I'm just editing the podcast and barely paying attention. Maybe I'd get more out of it if I paid attention, but I was so salted on the last season that I'm not going back to it. I'm not going to give it my time. If something doesn't grab me right away, there's so much content out there these days that it really needs to grab me right off the bat. I don't want to give it 3, 4, 5 episodes. If it doesn't grab me from the beginning, I'm not going to waste my time with it. I'm moving on to something else.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the critics get when they first get a new show. They get the first 3 episodes and they do their initial review and impression, and everybody knows that. And if you can't have somebody locked in on the first 3 episodes,
yeah, then you got a stinker.
Yeah, you got a stinker.
I mean, I say that, and then I watched all of, Marvel and Netflix Iron Fist, and I should have given up on that at episode 3 because I
never even attempted with it.
So bad. Because
I knew from the get-go and the trailers, I was just not interested whatsoever. So, but you guys know me. I'm not a comic book person. So it takes a lot for me to actually get into a show like that.
Except for you like Spider-Man Homecoming a little bit more than me. And
I do.
If you haven't listened to our mini-sode that was out earlier this week, go ahead, jump back, listen to our mini-sode where Jay does a brief review of Baby Driver, and then me and him review Spider-Man Homecoming together. So stay tuned, because coming up next, we got Jay's Indie Corner. Jay's going to go ahead and pour himself a bourbon neat. He is going to twirl his mustache just right. He's going to pop his suspenders, straighten his bow tie, wear his square frame glasses, all while drinking a venti macchiato, staring at your girlfriend's ass. So stay tuned.
Yoga pants.
to Jay's Indie Corner. Here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It was going to go away, but now it's not because dear old Mama Short has decided Jay's got to cleanse his soul and clean his mind.
I do have to cleanse my soul.
So Jay's...
This is too funny, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Jay has a good little godly film that he would like to share with you this week.
Well, first of all, let me just say, between you and me, if any of you guys want any kind of, movie scenes or movies out there that you want to pick my brain with, or you want to, me to talk about, just private message me on Twitter or, Facebook or something like that. We'll keep it on the down low.
I was thinking instead of Jay's all nude sexy time review where you talk about sexy scenes and stuff like that, we could just talk about great scenes. Like even if it's not in a great movie, just a great scene, a great acting piece,
right.
we can do like a showcase on a certain actor or on a certain film, stuff like that. If you get tired of Indie Corner. But right now we're doing Indie Corner.
Well, that's the thing. I think this segment's going to be a little bit more fun. We're just keep it refreshing with the occasional Indie Corner, and then also we can do the fun scenes, because there's so many good scenes out there, and everybody knows that you can have a shit film, but there can be an awesome scene, or there can be an awesome sequence or something.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Fuck off. All right, so... this week's movie is Heaven Knows What.
Jay, I got a brief synopsis for you. A little fake synopsis. Sorry. Heaven Knows What is the story of Butter J.
Mama Short.
And Butter J was wanking it one day in his youth to pornography films. And Butter Short and Butter Mama Short caught Butter J. She forced him to go to confession. She forced him to repent his sins. And little Butter J has never touched himself since. He grows up to be a man, sexually repressed, and he eventually starts exploring his sexual side in far more outlandish ways than he would have if he had developed his psychosexual nature much earlier in life. So Butter J finds himself being attracted to sex with women when they're on their menstrual cycle. He finds himself diving deep into hard NC-17 films and talking about them to an unwilling audience online. And eventually, Butter Mama J finds out about it again, and she makes him go to church, and she tells him, heaven knows what. Heaven knows what you do, Jay. You gotta get right by God.
I hope this isn't in the description for the show.
Oh, man. Butter Mama J Short's gonna be in there.
So this movie is obviously called Heaven Knows What. It is a film that's currently playing on Netflix.
Heaven knows what you watch, Jay. Going to hell, boy.
It's a guerrilla-style filmmaking film that's on the streets of New York, and it is directed by Ben and Josh Safdie. They met the lead, actually, Ariel Holmes, who lived on the streets of New York prior to this film after being discovered by the filmmakers, and she was writing and texting them almost like every kind of situation and every story that she was experiencing at the time because she was a former heroin addict who was living on the streets, and her tragic relationship with her boyfriend, Ilya, and, his death and the life from the streets on New York and just all the crazy shit that goes on day in and day out as for that lifestyle. So when the film began shooting, Ariel, she got clean, and she remained clean throughout the whole shoot. And it's a movie that I wanted to see, despite its hard to watch subject matter, because of their follow-up film. Because right now it's getting a lot of buzz that just came out of Cannes Film Festival called Good Time, and it's starring Robert Pattinson. So apparently Robert Pattinson is nailing it in this movie, and it's supposed to be a pretty solid film. And, if you like Requiem for a Dream or like Kids, something in that really raw nature, if you can stomach that, I think this is worth checking out for sure.
We all know you can stomach raw nature.
So that's Heaven Knows What.
And just to let you know, Jay, my shock and awe about last episode was mostly an act.
Good. But I understood it. Like, the whole period thing, you know, there are people out there like that.
But no one wants to hear about that.
No.
So, Jay, is Heaven
But it
Knows...
could be funny listening to them talk about it.
Is Heaven Knows What a film that you would recommend to people to watch?
Well, like I said, like if you've seen movies like Requiem for a Dream or like Kids, you know, those really hard, raw, dirty dramas that like really bold in your face. If you like those, if you can handle those, this is a movie that's worth checking out.
True to life fucked up situations.
It's almost like a documentary style. Like, it's really authentic.
Okay.
Painfully so, almost.
I'm probably never going to watch it. I'll be honest with
you. Again, like obviously you guys know a lot of these indie corner films. It's hard for me to recommend sometimes, you know? If they're not a lighthearted, enjoyable indie, I have a difficult time telling people to see these really hard-hitting dramas because some people can't handle that shit, and some people really just don't like that.
But it's really all you watch. Like, I feel like it's all you watch. Like, if it's not in the theater, you're watching these type of indie films. Like, you're just so...
I like things that really leave a good impression on me, you know, emotionally, you know, that really packs a punch.
It's fair enough. It's what a good film should do.
Yeah.
All right, so coming up next, me and Jay got a brief trailer park to talk to you about. We are going to be talking about the trailers for Geostorm, Jumanji, the remake, or sequel. I don't know which one it is. And we are also going to be talking about the new Dark Tower trailer. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Trailer Park. So before Spider-Man Homecoming, me and Jay were treated to two trailers. One of them I'd seen before. The other one, this was my first time seeing, although the trailer has been out for a little while. But me and Jay just wanted to talk about them a little bit. First one we're going to talk about is Geostorm, starring Gerard Butler, Andy Garcia, and you don't fucking care about
others that you just recognize but you don't care about.
I don't care about this film. When we were watching it just now, I was like, who directed this? Roland Emmerich? And you're like, no, but it looks a fucking shit ton like Roland Emmerich directed this fucking movie, man.
But, you know, the teaser trailer that showed no people was garbage. And I was looking at it, I'm like, another disaster movie? Really? 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 I mean, do we really have to have one like once a year or once every other year? I mean, come on.
It's directed by two different people. It's directed by Dean Devlin and Danny Cannon. And it's written by Dean Devlin and Paul Guyot. So, really what it all equals is this film, I mean, I when I was watching the trailer, and they said, like, oh, Afghanistan just froze over. And it's like, our satellite's out of control. And I was like, oh, if Afghanistan just mysteriously froze, it's pretty clear the United States government is using it as a weapon. No more than 2 seconds later in the trailer, they're like, someone's hacked the system. They're using it as a weapon. And I was like, oh my God, why would you give that away? Just
because they're desperate. Because they know the shit that they have on their hands right now.
But I mean, honestly, if you just, even a little bit, if you just let it go as like, hey, there's this major disaster that's going on. Gerard Butler works in space, and he's the only guy who can save us. Like, you could sell the film on that alone, and people would probably maybe want to see it. But then when you're like, oh, let's give away the entire plot of the film and then reveal exactly who the villain more than likely is.
You know, this movie would have worked better if it was a singular story with Gerard Butler just doing it.
Yeah.
Not all these other... It's like this is an ensemble action disaster movie. And I think it's going to fail because of that purpose. You know, you have horrible humor. You have a bunch of C-list actors. You have a bunch of has-been good actors that are just collecting a paycheck.
Apparently his press secretary is dating his head of security.
It's absolutely retarded.
His head of Secret Service. Marry her.
Oh my God.
That's what the trailer ends on. She does this amazing escape with a car, and it's just like, marry her. It just looks so bad.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would they make this movie? This cost a lot of money. A lot of money. Why make these things still?
That's why it's being hidden in October, man. They're hiding this shit in October.
It's unbelievable.
But yeah, I can't fathom why this movie's being made. I don't know really what it's adding to anything. It's not adding anything to its genre.
This is a pointless movie.
I mean, dude,
spades.
disaster films used to be like a big deal. They used to get the biggest director. They used to get the best cast. They used to get this massive ensemble cast. Like for Earthquake, for Airport, for these big disaster.
Well, sometimes
films.
they do. They can. I mean, what was that Everest movie that came out?
That wasn't a disaster movie. That was survival.
It's not a disaster. Exactly. But sometimes people think of them as the same type of film.
It's not. No, that's completely different.
I know that.
Everest
I'm just saying the average viewer sometimes think
Everest
that way.
is a far more personal story. It's about a singular.
Well, it is. I mean, I've seen it.
Story.
I mean, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really good. And it's a true story. But
that's a true life story. Where this is more fantastic. Like this is along the lines. Geostorm looks fucking Independence Day Resurgence bad. Like it looks really fucking bad. But I mean, like. Even going back to the Day After Tomorrow, even going back to things like Volcano, to things like we haven't had like
San Andreas was probably the last half decent one,
right? But what I'm saying is because
a lot of people really did enjoy that movie.
But back in the 70s, they used to do these massive like natural disaster flicks, and they worked because they got a good director and they got this great ensemble cast, and they told multiple stories about this one disaster happening. Where like now they're just like, it just feels like all right, we made a stinker, we spent $300 million making this stinker. We gotta grab as much cash as we can. Start promoting it now in early summer, so we can, really hope to garner something later on. Maybe this film will surprise us, but I mean, obviously, me and you, our butts are never in the seats for this. Like not even on home video, not even anything. We're probably never going to see this. So the second film we're going to talk about is Jumanji. Welcome to the jungle. Jumanji. Welcome to the jungle.
Well, I'll give them this. It was a fun trailer, and you could tell that they're going to make their money.
I think they plan on making their money. Because this is coming out in December. This is coming out, I think, just before Star Wars.
Okay. So it's going early December.
Early December.
Okay.
So they're going to try to make their money before Star Wars comes out. I think December is a decent time to release films. It's where you hope to. It's where you put films that
especially family ensemble movies.
Yes, and that's exactly what this is. This is a family film.
But it does such a disservice to the brand of Jumanji. That's the problem.
Oh, I'm not. I hold no closeness to my heart of the original Jumanji.
Not necessarily either for me, but I do really like the first original movie, and this has nothing to do with the original movie whatsoever. It's a completely different movie.
Can we talk about something that's completely fucked up? They find an Atari 2600 with the Jumanji game in it in the basement, and those graphics are at least Sega Genesis, if not Sega 32X level.
Yeah.
When I saw that menu screen, I was like, there's no Atari 2600 with a menu that looks like that. Get out of here. That's too good. That's too good. But that's my big flaw.
High-def cameras, man.
That's my big flaw. But, I mean, hey, we got The Rock.
It is what it is.
You got The Rock.
It is what it is.
You got Kevin Hart.
For me, the best part of the trailer was him just being like, keep it together. Don't cry. Don't cry.
See, Kevin Hart is what really sold this trailer to me, where it's like, I won't go to the theater.
Kevin Hart's going to do his Kevin Hart shtick, and, it always works for the most part. It's enjoyable, especially in trailers. Not so much in the movies, but in the trailers it works.
This I will not see in the theaters, but I'll definitely check it out.
I probably won't ever watch it either.
I'll definitely check it out when it comes out on HBO or it comes out on video on demand. I might check it out. I might give it a watch. It definitely looks like I'll at least get some laughs out of it. It definitely looks like I'll have a little bit of fun with it. I haven't seen Jack Black in a little while. Kind of like the idea that it's a 16-year-old girl trapped in Jack Black's body.
You can pull it off. That's kind of funny.
So if you don't know what the concept is, they find a video game called Jumanji. They decide to play it, and they actually get sucked into the Jumanji world, and they find out that every single one of them has powers. Well, has a special ability that like every video game character would. And it really doesn't give away much of the story from there, but obviously the story is they're going to have to get out of the game in the same way that it was for the original. Now, I'm not entirely sure that this is a sequel, whether this is a remake, or whether this is just, an update, basically. But I at least feel like I might have a little bit of fun. It definitely had some fun moments in it. Definitely, Lauren got a big laugh out of Kevin Hart at the end. He's like, it's like, you got to get in there and save him. I'm wearing a backpack. Everyone knows you don't get in the water with a backpack. Like, Lauren thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And the audience in the theater when I was watching Spider-Man Homecoming, this was the trailer to play before that. People got a big kick out of this trailer.
They did. I agree. My audience as well had a lot of chuckles throughout this trailer.
A lot of families.
More than any other trailer.
Yeah, a lot of families in my audience, too. A lot of crying babies in my Spider-Man Homecoming audience. A lot of crying babies. So many. Too many.
You need to start coming to movies whenever I decide to go to a movie because I have the best of luck. Knock on wood.
I go to movies when my schedule allows, and I have a very busy schedule between work and editing this podcast. No, your schedule involves you going to work, you working out, and you having fun. My schedule involves me going to work, me working on this podcast, me working on future podcasts, me working on the Twitter, me working...
That's your hobby, though.
me working on the house, and then occasionally I find time for me to have some fun. And even these days, going to the theaters sometimes feels like I'm working. So
I hear you.
You keep your fucking weekend mountain trips while I stay at home and fucking toil away like the fucking bastard stepchild.
Well, once I get my apartment, Dave will have a life somewhat.
Maybe. It just means I can record there on Monday nights instead of recording at home. That's the only thing it means. That's all it means. But yeah, Jumanji, mildly interested. That's what it comes down to. I'll check it out on HBO when it comes to that, or whatever.
I'll probably have to watch it at work or something like that. But other than that, I'm not going to go out my way to see it.
All right, and then finally, the last film we are going to talk about is The Dark Tower International Trailer number 2. So the reason I'm bringing this up is it's been a little while since we talked about The Dark Tower, and I mean, I really just want to get into the fact that this trailer is kind of selling a little bit of a different film. This trailer definitely wants to hit you with the action. Like, this is going to be action.
It's because it's an international trailer, and that's what they like.
They really want to sell you on the fact that the gunslinger is going to shoot some bullets. There's going to be some explosions.
A lot of gunslinger.
Going to be some collapse. But they did showcase something that I really liked. They really showcased the whole crux of this war between him and the Man in Black, which I don't think they sold so well in the first trailer. I mean, you could definitely tell they were opposed to each other. You could definitely tell that
but you didn't really know why exactly. Right. Not as well as this trailer.
This really explains that, like, that tower will fall. And they explained in the first trailer that the tower is what holds, this world and the other world together. And in this one, they really get into the fact that it's the Man in Black's mission to break down the beams that hold this tower up. He's going to, and they even show one of the beams breaking in the trailer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They showed that a similar scene to that in the original trailer, but they didn't really get into the fact that is the Man in Black's mission.
They didn't really explain what was going on in the first trailer with certain scenes that they were showing, but this trailer, it shows a little more,
Yeah. But still, I think there was something lost in there that was, I think the first trailer was really selling you on the characters, and this trailer is really selling you on the action and the story. And as we get closer, that's going to happen. I mean, we are, 3 weeks away from it, 3.5 weeks away from it coming out, almost 4 weeks away from it coming out. I mean, it's getting very close.
This has no buzz coming up. Other than probably the avid book readers of this series like you, I don't think the casual movie-going crowd is going to be all that interested in this property. I'm pretty sure this is going to lose money.
I don't think...
I'm like 90% sure this is going to lose money in the box office.
Here's the thing. Stephen King is a name that sells to people like me, where it's like, fuck, I barely have a Stephen King book.
It sells to readers, too.
Right, but I barely have a Stephen King book that I dislike. But, Stephen King, best-selling author, it's not like your average mom and pop is reading Stephen King books.
But they know the name.
They know the name, but I don't know, sometimes you don't want to take a step further to go into a world. You know what I mean? Like you might read a book, but maybe you won't go see the film, or vice versa. Maybe you'll see the film, but you won't go read the book. And I think what a lot of readers of it are seeing is this is not their Dark Tower. This is not what they envisioned when a Dark Tower series was being discussed. So
when you describe this series, it's not what I envisioned either. I mean,
No.
I didn't even read the fucking books.
I'll be 100%.
And when I saw this trailer, I was like, really?
I'll be 100% honest.
I'm not feeling this at all.
I'm excited for this film because of the books. I'm not excited for this film because of the film. I will go see this film as soon as I can. I will be on vacation when this film comes out, so we'll have to save our review. Our review will probably be a week late when, by the time it comes out. I'm still going to review it because I still really want to see it. I still really want to get out there, but I'm going out there with zero expectations. I don't want to see the representation of the book on film. I do want to see something new, something original, and that's exactly what they're presenting to me here. However, I'm not terribly excited about how it's being presented to me. It is especially with the second trailer, it is very action heavy, like very action heavy. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that a lot of what happens in the Dark Tower is what's going on in those quiet moments. It is very much of the characters of Jake, Susanna, Eddie Dean, and Roland the Gunslinger. Like it is about building that quartet, and I'm not getting the sense of that here. Now, they apparently have sequels planned, spin-off, seasons, but all of that hinges on this film doing well. This film has to make its money and then some to a degree for it to garner anything more. And from what I'm seeing, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to do well. I really don't.
It's not. I'm almost 100% certain of it.
I mean, it's pretty clear around it. There's nothing else coming out around it that would really overshadow it too much.
But it doesn't matter. There's going to be too many other good films in the previous month of July. I mean, already we have Baby Driver and Spider-Man that have been hits and successes.
And they will still be out.
They're going to hold up. And then we have Dunkirk coming out, and we
Apes.
have Atomic Blonde, and Apes is going to be a huge movie as well.
And Valerian is actually getting good buzz.
I know. I am really surprised.
And me and you watched that trailer and said dog shit. Like, what dog shit?
Well, yes, but you have to... Okay, so for one thing, I've heard some things about world building.
That's cool.
I hear it's really well done in that regard. And the visuals, they are what they are. They're very heightened. They're very, heavy CGI'd characters and worlds.
Here's the thing.
They're very out there. It's all Luc Besson's fantasy,
So, with all the positive buzz that Valerian's getting, I would be there opening weekend if it wasn't coming up against a Nolan film. And the difference is, Nolan, proven. Valerian and Luc Besson, 1-2 good films, a couple stinkers in there too. So I'm going to go with the proven director.
Right. No, I understand. And this is one of those things where I originally was not going to see this movie. I mean, I had no interest whatsoever. But if it gets good enough reviews from the critics, I got to check it out.
Here's the lucky thing.
I kind of feel like I have to.
I have Logan all this month. I don't have her that weekend. I can go see 2 films that weekend if I please. And I just might. Because Valerian's getting enough buzz.
Well, we should do it.
And it's in my wheelhouse. I mean, I love sci-fi.
No, I know.
I love sci-fi.
And it looks like it's just a fun adventure movie. That's the cool thing about it.
I'm really not crazy about the casting. Like, that casting just looks so bad.
You just know they just got them on the cheap.
Yeah.
And... they can spend all their money on the special effects.
And Dane DeHaan is still reeling from a couple stinkers, And
I have a soft spot for Dane. I really do. Ever since I saw him in that fucking In Treatment show on HBO way back when.
Here's how on the cheap they got their actors. Clive Owen's in it. That's how on the
And fuck cheap. You. I love Clive Owen.
Fuck you. Children of Men is one of my favorite films of the 2000s. I fucking love that film. I think
too.
Clive Owen is fucking brilliant in that. However, he did Shoot 'Em Up, which I actually really enjoyed. And then after that, he just kind of like fell off, man. Like, I haven't seen Clive Owen in anything like fucking fantastic in a real long fucking time.
He's done a lot of odd little movies. One of my favorites is the ensemble drama
Closer.
Closer.
That was right around the same time as Children of Men, though.
I know.
It's so long ago.
It is a long movie. That's a while ago.
Yeah.
That was
so,
an old movie.
This is like the opposite of last year, where last year, remember, like summer early films, started out really lackluster, and we cleaned up at the end of the year. We got our good films towards the end of the summer, where this year it seems like all of our good films are going to be behind us when July ends, and everything going forward is going to be kind of like stink fest.
Right. Well, last year what was it? I think Civil War was the only good one, and we had The Nice Guys. That was all right. Nice Guys was
end of summer. And then, that was August, wasn't it?
No. That was early. That was May. That was late May.
Okay, so then after that, nothing notable. But dude,
nothing was notable. And then it's a little different, but it's kind of a nice surprise, though, Dave. Honestly, I'm cool with it.
As excited as I am for Dunkirk, next week, I'm gonna lose my shit, man, because we're gonna be doing our Game of Thrones episode. Game of Thrones comes back with season 7, and Apes comes out, and that is 100% my most anticipated film this summer. I have no clue, about anything else this summer. I'm going out with open minds, but I'll be honest, I have a real high hope for Apes.
We're gonna have a nice mini-sode review,
absolutely,
of that movie.
So stay tuned, because me and Jay are going to be coming at you with some beer reviews. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our beer segment. So after the anniversary, we decided where could we go from here? We decided we're in the midst of summer. So really the only place we can go from here is drinking as many fucking beers with the name Summer and Sun in the title that we could possibly get our hands on in the next couple weeks. So starting things off, I am drinking Island in the Sun Double Indian Pale Ale from Conshohocken Brewing Company. This is a seasonal that they do during the summertime. We talked about Conshohocken a lot when we were doing our Pennsylvania beers.
We did.
And this one is just, brand new, just came out. Love the can. The can has a pineapple on it, and the pineapple is kind of like one of the ghosts from Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And it has hops going around as Pac-Man.
It's genius. It's really nice.
Anyway. Island in the Sun Double IPA brewed with copious amounts of Mosaic, Simcoe, and Bravo hops and pineapple. Island in the Sun's tropical fruit flavors play well atop a lighter yet hearty grain bill. Juicy and smooth through to the very last sip. Now that's what the fuck they say promotionally. But really, what we all want to know is, how does it taste?
Mm-hmm.
It tastes okay. It's mildly bitter. I
agree. No, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
I mean, god damn it. When I think of summer, man, I think of bold, dry hopped, man. Like that really nice yellow, hazy type of IPA with some notes of tropical fruit and stuff like that. I think what it is the citrus is maybe a little bit too high in this from the pineapple, and it gives it that very acidy taste, like that acid reflux taste almost.
I mean, even with that can and the artwork, like, it just doesn't have much of a flavor at all. Like, it's not one way or another. It's just very blah. It's just very okay.
It's a dope fucking can.
It's a dope can. It's a dope can. I mean, what's the alcohol content on that one?
It's 8.5.
Okay, so it is up there, and it doesn't taste very high, but what would you score that, Dave?
No, I'm sorry. It's 8.9.
Oh, wow.
Just shy of 9. Almost had it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just going to give this, I honestly would never really seek it out again, so I'm going to go with like a 2.5.
Yeah, I was thinking about a 2.5 as well.
It's passable. I'm not gonna...
However, I do like yours better than I like mine.
Oh.
So I have the Captain Lawrence Brewing Company's Sunblock Unfiltered Summer IPA. It's dry hopped with Sriracha Ace hops, 5.8 alcohol by volume, and this beer just... I think Dave might like this a little bit more than I do. It's got a lot of bold flavors, smell. It's just not my kind of IPA whatsoever.
Honestly, dude, read the ingredients. Is there a hint of coconut in this? Is that why it's called Sunblock? Because it has
it has a weird like coconut kind of like linger to it, and probably does. It doesn't have much of a description at all in the bottle.
Because honestly, when I think of sunblock, that's the thing I go to is coconut, like the
yeah, right.
And it has a little bit of that smell, like a little bit.
It just lingers there in the aftertaste.
But you know what I'm really smelling right now? It's still on my fingers. I am still smelling peach, that peach bourbon. So me and Jay were doing a little bit of experimenting for our next cocktail for a movie cocktail podcast that's due out in the first week of August. And man, we made one awful cocktail, and I made one awful cocktail, and one cocktail we can work with. You know, we can play with this a little bit.
There could be some improvements made.
Yeah.
It has more potential than the other one.
You said that you found a better liquor to use that has same ingredients. Well, the ingredients really wouldn't change, except for that you would substitute that one liquor for another. Essentially,
I'm going to try and alter the ingredients perhaps slightly. Just to make it a better drink. That's all. I'm only going to try and improve it.
It's your drink. I just wanted
I know. Just
wanted to push you in the right direction thematically for it. Because we are going to be doing Starship Troopers.
I know. Starship Troopers.
Not exactly your thematic wheelhouse.
It's definitely not, but we have an interesting drink. It's going to be a good little twist on an old classic. So stay tuned for that one. You're going to like the show. I guarantee it. And
you sound like the guy who's selling people suits. You're going to like the way you look.
I guarantee it.
Jay, what do you give?
The Men's Warehouse guy, right?
Yes, the Men's Warehouse. Yeah, he was a CEO who got fired from his own company.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, Jay, what do you give your Captain Lawrence, man? Sunblock.
I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's not disgusting, but I don't like it at all.
Slightly better than mine. I'm actually going to give it a 3. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I thought you might like it a little bit more. But I don't care for it whatsoever. And I will gladly switch beers with you if you want.
No, I mean, I'll finish mine. Mine packs a punch. Yours is kind of just goes out with a whimper.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for beer this week. Pretty much don't really seek these out. I'll take a picture and post a picture of my can for everyone to go, oh, that's dope as shit. Yeah, don't drink it. It's not great.
And
it's okay.
Jay needs to start working on the Untapped for Super Movie Brothers. Stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we said that last week. I forgot.
Yeah, I promised. So I gotta do it now.
Download the
app.
It's
like me dressing up in drag. I promised. I gotta do it. One day you're gonna hear it. You're gonna see something out there on the net about me.
We need to talk about what you got to do and what you want to do, because I feel like the dressing in drag thing that's a want to do and not a have to do.
I'm a man of my word.
Just don't wear pumps because you can't get you don't want to get any taller.
No,
no doorway will be able to hold you.
It's gonna be interesting trying to find something that fits my foot. I'm just thinking of a nice, short and sweet.
Excuse me, dog. Do you have any size 14 pumps?
Just get me up on that stage and get me to fuck off immediately.
All right, so coming up next, me and Jay put a question out on Twitter for everyone to let us know what their favorite underrated movies are. And me and Jay got 3 of our own underrated films that we're going to share with all of you. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. So me and Jay finished reviewing our beers. Hope you enjoyed that this week. First time in a long time that both me and you really didn't enjoy our beers.
No, I know, and the trailer park.
Yeah, I mean, well,
the at best ho hum.
Yeah,
it was just like
really okay. My heart says I really want to love the Dark Tower, but my brain is telling me like
at this rate, Dave, you it's better off just going in with low expectations.
I might be pleasantly surprised. I love Idris Elba and I love McConaughey.
I know.
So
I know. Me too.
I'm at least going to get two probably decent acting performances out of both of them. But for this next segment, me and Jay wanted to talk about underrated films. Just films that it's not that they weren't well received. It's not that they're not well liked. It's just that they maybe didn't garner the praise or garner the attention that maybe they should have. Where maybe only people like Jay and myself and you, listener, are aware of. But we just want to throw some praise at things that we really enjoyed over the past couple years. I mean, I say couple years, I mean decade. But things that just kind of like went under the wayside that we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But we reached out to some of you on Twitter and we asked you, what are some of everyone's favorite underrated films? Whether it was poorly received or overshadowed, let us know. And Nick and Vince's podcast said, The Prestige, it's a great film by Christopher Nolan, but mostly ignored, but a favorite of ours. And I actually really enjoyed that response. It was the first response we got to this because I really fucking digged Prestige. I digged the performances in it.
Me too.
I love the fact that, and he goes on to talk about how you can't categorize this film. This film is a thriller. It's a drama. It's sci-fi. It's got so many elements to it, and the story is as deep as its characters are as well.
And it holds up.
It does.
It definitely holds up.
It's a good film to watch.
This is a great example for underrated films.
And as you know, listening to the anniversary episode, I said that Memento was my least favorite Nolan film. I stand by that. I think Prestige is better than Memento. I really dig the film, and I really dig its twist. I think the twist is earned. It's just so good. And the whole time, it's really just about competition. It's really just about...
And it's great seeing those two actors go head-to-head, right? Hugh Jackman and fucking Christian Bale.
Yeah. And I hadn't seen Hugh Jackman act this well since The Fountain.
Not in that way.
Since The Fountain.
Yeah, The Fountain.
Yeah, since The Fountain.
That's kind of underrated.
That's kind of underrated. There's one that no one mentioned.
That's true.
All right. And then we got Chloe at Fayette Vamp said... Straight-to-video, low-budget vamp movie called The Insatiable. It has flaws, but she really loves it. I've never even heard of this. It's direct-to-video. Apparently, it has Michael Biehn and Hicks from Aliens. That's my only hook for this one.
All right.
DSRA podcast said Kubo and the Two Strings, and I think Kubo and Two Strings is absolutely underrated. It was my pick for animated film last year. Thought that it really should have won. It didn't. And, still, a great animated film still won. But I think Kubo and Two Strings was the best one. I think it's the most visually impactful. I think it was stylistic. I think the story was wonderful. I think that the voice acting was done great.
No, I agree with all those notes. I took my kids to see it, so that's why I watched it. I did fall asleep for probably about 15, 20 minutes in the middle of the movie. However, I saw the beginning and the end, and I thought it was really... I pieced things together, and I thought it was a nice film.
As everyone knows from listening to the anniversary episode, especially the Never Have I Liked That segment.
I can't get into animated films, guys. I'm sorry. There's just nothing about it. I mean...
What a fat, wet turd you take on fucking every animated film.
It's not on purpose. It's just I can't do it.
I fucking hate you. I hate you. But Kubo and the Two Strings, it does everything I love about animation. It builds a fucking beautiful world. It tells a story through its world and through its characters. It develops its characters. They learn a lesson at the end.
And the music's nice.
Oh God. And I love Kubo and the Two Strings. It's streaming on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, take the time, watch it with your children, watch it with your family. Just watch it by yourself. It's worth it. I swear to you. All right, Netflix and Swill. This is Dan over at Netflix and Swill, who was with us for our top 5 gut-busting comedies. He just wants me and you to talk about Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls again. Not happening, Dan. It's not happening. I don't care if you're a network bro or not. We're not going to talk about that film again. But I did rewatch it after we did that episode. And I did crack up when Jim Carrey's face is coming out of that rhino's ass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God, that's so loud in the audio. I hate you. It's just fucking ruptured my eardrums through my headphones. Steve from Everything I Learned from Film podcast said basketball, and he's 100% right, because basketball.
Yeah,
this is a
worthy one for sure.
This was like the breakout major motion picture, major release film for Matt Stone and Trey Parker post South Park. Mm-hmm. South Park was already up and running. People really loved it, and this was their kind of like their first foray into films. Now, if you really want to go deep cuts for Matt Stone and Trey Parker, you'll go back and watch their student film, Cannibal the Musical. If you can find that, you can watch that. You're gonna get some deep cuts for Matt Stone and Trey Parker. But this was fantastic. This film cracked me the fuck up. They followed this up with Orgasmo, which is another comedy that I really love.
Never saw that one.
They followed that up with, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and then they followed that up with Team America: World Police. These guys are they're just fucking hilarious, and they get the whole like meta culture. They're great at just hitting you with the right funny bone, with the right amount of topical comedy and the right amount of slapstick. Like they really marry.
They find that balance.
They really do, and Basketball is no exception to that. I really enjoy that one. Shaken Not Nerd, another network bro of ours, says. Son of a bitch. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Under the Red Hood, Heart of Ice, all DC animated films pretty much. Yeah, fuck you. I know you want me to talk about, and I'm going to. Mask of the Phantasm is so fucking good. If you haven't seen it in years, get yourself out there and see this fucking movie again. It's about to come out on Blu-ray. It deserves that HD treatment. Get yourself out there and see that shit. I completely
agree.
Yeah, it's one of the few animated films Jay isn't fucking shitting all over.
That's true.
The Crossover Podcast says Death to Smoochie. And God, it's not that I forgot about this film, but what a great acting piece from Edward Norton. And then, the late, great Robin Williams. And I always think of the scene every time someone mentions this movie. I'm going on safari, motherfucker. Safari.
That's a good one.
Sean Dillon on Twitter says, Stranger Than Fiction, smart story, and Will Ferrell in a drama worked beautifully. And Stranger Than Fiction was okay, but the Will Ferrell dramedy that I like a little bit more than this is Everything Must Go.
I never saw that one, and Stranger Than Fiction, I do understand where he's coming from. It is very original. It's well done, well crafted. It's just a little too dull for me, and it just didn't hold up as far as rewatchability or memorability.
I was always more on the side of the writer in that, I really like.
Well, he was a writer, and he was a first-time director.
Yeah,
so
but what I mean is Emma Thompson, being the writer in that film. I always it's weird. Like I saw that movie as more of her struggle than Will Ferrell's struggle.
Right.
Right. I saw that. I did enjoy that film, but Everything Must Go is. I feel like it's a little bit more of an actor piece for Will Ferrell.
And it's probably more of my kind of piece anyway. Yeah. So I got to get on top of that.
House of Gun on Twitter said, Ruby Sparks, one of the most moving experiences I've ever had at the cinema. I've never seen Ruby Sparks, but he's not the only one that mentioned this for their list on this. So
and it's on my list.
It is. All right.
I will spoil that. It is on my list.
Don't spoil like anything because it's actually on my watch list now. I'm going to put it on my watch list. I can't wait to see it because it's got a great underrated actor, Paul Dano, who is...
And his longtime girlfriend who wrote the screenplay.
Very good. Patrick Kincaid on Twitter said, Adam Sandler in Rain on Me. Now, Rain on Me is one that I've only seen once. I wasn't terribly blown away by it, but maybe I should give it another shot because the subject matter is pretty deep. Don Cheadle plays a guy a therapist who's kind of like helping him through a dark time in Adam Sandler's life. His family died in, I believe, 9/11, I want to say, but it's something along those lines.
This just flew under my radar. I just missed it and then just never came across it ever since, and I completely forgot about it.
It's weird because it
was a movie that I wanted to check out, but
when he mentioned this on Twitter, I was like, what the fuck is that? I had to go look it up, and I was like, oh, this is the movie where Adam Sandler plays Shadow of the Colossus, a video game. I remember the video game he plays. I don't remember the movie very well, so maybe I'm going to give it another shot.
That hair was epic, though. Oh my God.
Yeah, very Bob Dylan hair.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Rico, agent of Nation of Nerds, says Judge Dredd with Carl Urban, which it's not called Judge Dredd, it's called Dredd. And this film is 100%
solid choice.
Underrated.
Absolutely.
And completely overshadowed. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Scott Patterson on Twitter also said, The Postman and The 13th Warrior. The Postman, I'm not a big fan of. That's the Kevin Costner film that followed up Waterworld. I wasn't crazy about that. It's another post-apocalyptic film where he's kind of basically restarting the Pony Express. Just not a thing that I was really interested in. But The 13th Warrior is one that I really enjoyed. I believe it's a book by Michael Crichton, and it stars Antonio Banderas, who plays an Arab man from the Middle East who comes and fights with Vikings, and they make him this. One scene I remember really well is they make him like a sword. It's a broad sword. It's a heavy sword, and he can't use it. So he re-smelts it and refines it into a curved blade, which is something that they would have used in the Middle East, and he becomes, one of the strongest warriors that they have. It's a solid story. It's not such great of a flick. It's not very well directed. It's not very well acted, but you'll have a solid time watching it. You'll enjoy the action for sure. Owen the Geek on Twitter said The Mask with Jim Carrey, that people overlook it, and that it's actually a fine piece of comic book film history. For me, I loved it when I was a kid. Not so much these days. But Jay, you're still a fan of The Mask, right? With Jim Carrey?
I certainly am. Anything man. Jim Carrey that day and age, loved it.
Jake and Tom conquered the world. So this is Tom from Jake and Tom. He tells us, another network bro, freshly initiated into our Podfix network.
Welcome.
He said Bone Tomahawk didn't get the recognition or even the release that it deserved, but it was everything one could ever want from Western. And I've seen this film.
That just is a perfect example because I never even heard of it.
Dude,
and you saw it, and you said you loved it.
Came out same year as Hateful Eight, I believe, so about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Fucking bloody. Like, when I say bloody, I just mean like, dude.
I really want to see it now.
Absolute hardcore Western. Worth your time. Worth the watch. Definitely seek it out. I don't think it's streaming anywhere right now, so you're going to have to pay some
So
coin.
bizarre, right? Isn't this really weird? I mean, It must have had a horrible studio behind this property.
I mean, and the best part is, it's got Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, who we both love, Matthew Fox from Lost, and Richard Jenkins. Like, it's worth the watch.
Oh,
I mean,
Richard Jenkins, okay.
I'll tell you, if you haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, go watch it. If Jay's going to watch it, maybe me and him will do a brief segment where we talk about it on the next episode.
That's very possible.
CNC Geekcast says Dark City is a film that doesn't get the acclaim it deserves. It came out a year before The Matrix and got immensely overshadowed. Well, it must have got overshadowed because I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. More Gooder Than podcast says The Rundown. Now, obviously, there's another network bro. He says it's honestly one of the best action comedies of all time. I don't know about all time, but it is enjoyable, and people tend to really see it as kind of just like this dumb action film. But I think it's actually smartly done. I think The Rock actually does one of his best early performances and is certainly better than the Scorpion King.
Sure.
And Sean William Scott was coming off of the American Pie films, and you know, his role was absolutely perfect in it. I love the duo in it. And the action was over the top, just the right amount of over the top.
It was a lot of fun.
Nick from the Epic Film Guys podcast says, this should be obvious, and he threw up a gif of Batman v Superman. Thanks for trolling us, Nick. We all know you love BVS. I'm with you. I like BVS, as long as it's the extended edition and not the theatrical version. A Beardo Talks Film says Equilibrium is really fucking cool action flick with gun kata laid the ground for John Wick.
Goddamn right.
And
I completely agree.
I think that's true. I think the action in the film laid the groundwork for more action films to come. I definitely think the action was done smartly. I think the cinematography was done great. I think the acting was fucking poor, even from Christian Bale.
I love this movie.
I get it that they're all supposed to be...
It was so cool.
It was
just so cool to me.
It was not that cool.
For me, it was. I love that shit.
First time I watched it, I was like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I was like, whatever.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but I've seen it a couple times when it, back when it came out, and I really was digging it.
Nerdcast, that's NYRDcast on Twitter, said The Punisher movies. Dolph Lundgren, Thomas Jane, and it's Ray Stevenson in Warzone. For me, I don't like the Lundgren one. I don't like that one. That one, it's not even the Punisher. It's really just a guy in the sewers who kills mobsters. The Thomas Jane one, however, I do think is a little bit underrated. I think I think they changed too much about the location, about the Punisher, but it still is very much, a comic book film. I think, I actually dig it. There's not much I can do to defend it. It's not great. I mean, it's not great at all, but it is fun. Because you're one dumb son of a bitch bringing a knife to a gunfight. That's my favorite scene. That Harry Heck scene where he comes into the diner and he plays him the song. And it's so good. And if you haven't checked it out, our friends Rob over at the Fan Film Boys did an episode on Dirty Laundry, which is kind of like a fan film sequel to The Punisher. It actually has Thomas Jane in it. It's really fantastic. It is bloody awesome. Not in the British bloody way, but in the fucking absolute gory way. It's a hard R on YouTube. So go check out Dirty Laundry on there and then listen to Fan Film Boys podcast on that. The Podcastle says 13 Days. Now, this is a film that is about the Bay of Pigs. This is about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, you know, it is a really, really good film. I believe also has Kevin Costner in it. Cinema J Warriors says Brian Usna's Society. Never fucking heard of it. I'll be honest. Never heard of it.
Nope.
And they didn't give enough description for me to really want to get into it. Kitchen Sink Podcast says Rawhead Rex. Again, never heard of it, but not enough description for me to really want to get into it. Sipping Sisters Pod says Equilibrium, Highway, Attack the Block, and The Secretary. So for me, Attack the Block. Very underrated. Loved Attack the Block, produced by Edgar Wright. It also stars John Boyega. Dude, it's really good. It's worth the watch.
Okay.
It's very reminiscent of Shaun of the Dead, if Shaun of the Dead took place in the ghetto with badass yardie boys. it's all
right. I could do that.
It's a good watch. Nick Frost is in it. It's definitely worth your time. Deadbeat Film Society said, seconding The Highway from what Sipping Sisters said. He says that it has a heavy manic 90s feel, early performances from Jake Gyllenhaal and Jared Leto. Just Dudes Being Guys on Twitter said The Machinist, which is a film that stars Christian Bale. That's the one that he lost all that weight, got himself down to 98 pounds, then beefed the fuck up to 205 to play Batman, which is fucking
I don't know how
crazy.
he did that.
David DeMoss said John Carter of Mars. No, I'll never watch that again. I did not like that. Taylor Kitsch was tried to be sold to me as the next great, action star, next great Hollywood guy. I just didn't buy it.
This, and then following up in the springtime with Battleship. I mean, that was career suicide. And honestly, just bad luck, because I'm sure when he fucking signed on the dotted line, he thought he was going to be the next big movie star. And no. It was unfortunate.
Robert Hughes says, Dream a Little Dream. Fabian Gomez says, Unfinished Business with Vince Vaughn, that they really liked it, especially the performances from the three leads. Many others disliked it or dismissed it. Never heard of it. Haven't seen it. Here for Pudding said Ninja Assassin and SLC Punk. Now, SLC Punk I have seen, and that has Matthew Lillard in it. And it actually is a really good film. It is definitely worth your time to check that out, seek it out. It's a film from 1998. So, I mean, it's going a ways back, but it's definitely worth the check out. And Chris McBrien said, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Another one that I've never heard of. And there's not enough description for me to want to check it out. So me and Jay want to thank all of you guys for your submissions. Thank you for reaching out to us. Thank you for sharing all these. And definitely, now Jay's interest is piqued in Bone Tomahawk. I'm sure that this week he is going to seek it out. And next week, me and him will do
Hopefully I can find it.
Next week, me and him will do a brief retro review of Bone Tomahawk. You heard it here. And Jay is all about keeping his promises this year.
I am, apparently.
Just like he's gonna wear size 14 pumps and dress and drag. And then he is also going to run our Untapped, because I run too much on this fucking show and he does nothing except for play with his dick in the fucking mountains while his mom gasps at the terrible things that he does.
Here in this podcast studio, yes.
Do you think she has like a cat of nine tails just waiting for you one day, where she's like, flog yourself and cleanse yourself of your sins?
She's not quite that kind of level, but she's like a closeted, very
well. That's because she's Lutheran and not Catholic. That's why.
Right. Exactly.
All right, so me and Jay got 5 films each that we want to talk about. We're going to talk about them briefly so we don't run a little long here, but there's definitely 5 films.
You want to go, I talk about 1, and you go to your 5, and I'll go 4, you go 4.
Yeah, sure. I mean, a few of them were mentioned on here, but honestly, the ones that we have were mostly unmentioned. All right, Jay, why don't you go ahead with your first underrated film that you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say these movies, I think, sometimes are successful in the box office. Sort of. But they are still movies that I think people forget about, and I think were not well reviewed or regarded when they came out.
That's what I mean. They don't have the longevity that some other films have, and maybe they should. Maybe they're good enough that they should.
Yeah, and for certain reasons. And my first movie is going to be The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. This came out in 2013. This is just a simple adventure, dramedy, really. And Ben Stiller directed this, and I thought it was just absolutely charming, and I can really resonate with a lot of the character confliction that he's going through during this movie, and I thought it had some interesting moments and dialogue exchanges and a lot of cool adventure scenes, and a lot of it's really silly, but it was just so fucking enjoyable, and I really, really liked this movie, and it was a really big surprise, because when I saw the trailer, I was not on board. So when I finally watched this movie, I forget how, I was pleasantly surprised, and I really enjoyed watching it multiple times.
Fuck you, I hate this movie. I
Hey,
hate this movie.
No, I hear a lot of people who love this movie.
I hate Sean Penn's character at the end, when it's just like, sometimes I don't take the picture. Sometimes it's just for me.
I know, that was a little...
I fucking hate it.
A little heavy. A little heavy-handed, but...
I hate this movie. I mean, I don't hate it.
I went along with it. I can't help it. I just can't help it. But I'll tell you what, though. Adam Scott's beard is nasty. That motherfucker needs to stop growing facial hair. I know he's got a thick beard, but my God, he looks terrible.
I know this film is schmaltzy. Like, it's just too schmaltzy.
For some of these movies, sometimes just hit me all in all the right feels. This is one of them.
All right, man. For me, my first one is Brick.
Motherfucker.
With Joseph Gordon-Levitt, man. This film,
that would be on my list. Yeah.
I love this film. It's directed by Rian Johnson, who is just about to direct Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yep.
And I mean, this film it's so well done, and it did this thing where like it kind of creates its own language. Like it exists,
definitely.
It exists in modern times, but you know everyone talks in this very noirish detective type way.
Loved it.
I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt, does one of his best acting roles in this film.
Ever since then, he was always on my radar.
Right, the mystery in it is so well done. And I think just the world that it builds its own world that exists in our world, and it does it in like this believable way that like it doesn't overdo it. You don't feel like you're watching something that's foreign to you. You're watching like this good story, and you're following along. And I saw this at the Ritz 5 way back when I was 18 or 19 years old. I remember going to see it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this came out in 2005.
Yeah.
So it was a little while ago.
I was 19.
Yeah.
So they handed out pamphlets, like when you went to go see it, with a breakdown of the slang of the film, just in case you couldn't follow along. You didn't need that. You followed it along perfectly.
I mean, there was a couple words here and there that you'd be like,
I remember the one
I think I understand what they're talking about, but you're not 100% sure.
Heal it, dude. And that's something that said heal it means beat it, get the fuck out of here. And like, that's one of those things like in context, you get it. It didn't matter. But this film was so fucking well done. And the visuals, oh my God, the visuals are so good. When that car comes screaming around the corner and it flicks the cigarette out and the cigarette lands on the ground and it has the arrow pointing to it for Joseph Gordon-Levitt to follow.
Yeah, the cinematography was just bonkers.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Rian Johnson's Brick with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, definitely fucking check it out.
As the movie guy right here, indie guys, girls, fucking watch this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, this is on your must-watch list. So go out and seek it out. Next up, I'm going to go with Sunshine. Sunshine is a sci-fi movie directed by Danny Boyle. It's a great ensemble. And it's a movie that...
Well, Jay, can I go with my next one?
Please.
Sunshine. Love this movie.
I love this movie too, and I don't care. I don't care about the whole final acts. A lot of people have significant.
I love the way this film is
opinions
done.
on this.
I love the way that it starts with this mission to restart the sun to save the earth.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it also has the beauty and the awe of space, and then it turns into this thriller, which is about like, will they, won't they? Like, will they get there in time? Will they do this? Will they do that? Can they recalculate? Can they get themselves back on course? And then it fucking turns into a straight up monster flick.
Yeah.
It just turns into a straight up...
Some people just don't get on board with that, though. Yeah. A lot of people, actually.
It definitely changes gears 3 times in the film. Like, it just...
That, for me, and I understand that point, because even when I watched it, I, at times, were like...
It's like you sign up for Apollo 13.
I was loving this movie until this point, and now I'm just kind of going with emotions. But ultimately, I was definitely satisfied. But but still... 80% of this movie, the first 80% is like unbelievably beautiful and so cool and so well done and well acted.
Cillian Murphy is fantastic in it.
Oh, God, yeah.
Chris Evans is fucking fantastic in
it.
And who I think is an underrated actor is Cliff Curtis he plays the captain in it. He's the one that's obsessed with staring into the sun. He's the one that keeps upping the sunlight.
Yes, I've always been a big fan of his.
But Sunshine, the Danny Boyle film, absolutely worth it. The visuals are fantastic. The sci-fi is pretty on fucking point, and the thriller horror level of it that you don't see coming just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's almost like Event Horizon meets Apollo 13.
It's a really, really good film.
All right, Jay, well, you mentioned one of mine, so go ahead and mention your next one.
Okay, so I will go with Begin Again. This is a movie that, this is the follow-up to Once. The writer and director is John Carney. It has a huge ensemble cast with Keira Knightley, Mark Ruffalo, Adam Levine, and Haley Steinfeld, and, James Corden. So it's essentially a musical, but it's also a dramedy, and it is, it's set in New York, but I love the musical numbers. Keira Knightley is still weird to look at in modern day, not dressed up in like 17th century corsets and whatever, but she's charming enough. She's not a great singer, but she's good enough where you can kind of fall into gear with it. And I liked her chemistry with Mark Ruffalo. He's just kind of like a deadbeat has-been producer who's trying to make it. And Haley Steinfeld was, charming as hell as his daughter. I just love this movie. It is so enjoyable. I love the whole, the story, and, it's definitely heightened reality. It is what it is, but it's so enjoyable. And the music, I loved. Love it.
My next film is a Spike Lee joint, and it stars someone we talked about earlier on. He's in Children of Men. He's in Closer. I'm talking about The Inside Man. This film, dude, it's got Denzel Washington in it, and it's one of the finest Denzel playing a detective type stories. And
yes, this was on my list, of course, because this is a movie that Spike Lee had this thing in his hand and directed the shit out of it.
It's not on my list. Another Spike Lee joint that maybe people haven't checked out is Edward Norton in The 25th Hour. Where he's got 24 hours before he has to go to jail, and he's just kind of reliving his life. That's another good one. But this one, I think, goes a little bit further. I think it tells the story of, it's something so different than Spike Lee has done before. Spike Lee always does these very personal stories. Right. These stories that are about a neighborhood, these stories that are about a person, these stories that are about a life, about a family. Here, this is a crime drama. This is a film that's about a bank heist. This is a film that is... it's very, it's not who done it, it's how they done it. And you're given no hints until the very end of the film when they reveal how it was all done and how everything was.
It's very intelligent. And while you're watching, you really have no idea what is going on, how they're going to be able to pull it off. But at the same time, the actors are so fucking cool.
Yeah, Denzel acts
They're so cool.
Shit out of this. They do this thing that I wasn't crazy about in the film that I think took away from a little bit. Denzel attaches cameras to the chest of the characters, and as they're moving from point to point, the camera is kind of right on their face. So there's kind of this point where Denzel Washington's kind of running, and it's and the camera's I didn't buy into that.
I think I remember what you're talking about, but
yeah, it's very handheld, close cam and stuff like that. It's fine. It's such a brief moment in the film, but it's one of the things that that was a hot thing to do in 2005. When Inside Man came out and everything.
But this ensemble was
2006.
Nuts.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, come on. Denzel, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster, Christopher Plummer, Willem Dafoe,
Chiwetel Ejiofor in one of his early roles. This is
big time.
This is Chiwetel Ejiofor before. He hasn't done anything crazy big or anything like that, but he's kind of a name. So much so that two jackasses on a podcast know how to pronounce it.
True.
So Inside Man is definitely worth your watch. So Jay, what else you got? Oh, you just did Inside Man. So I guess it's back to me.
Yeah, we both had Inside Man.
So for me, Lucky Number 11.
Solid choice.
I feel like it's Josh Hartnett's last role. It might as well be Josh Hartnett's last role.
Kind of. Before Penny Dreadful.
Yeah. I dug 30 Days of Night a little bit.
Yeah.
But not that much. I dug 40 Days and 40 Nights where he refused to jerk off or have sex. I had fun with that.
I would never do that.
But Lucky Number 11 is just kind of this film. It's about the underworld. It's about the hidden part of the underworld, the assassins, the people that kill for hire. And it's about a young man who was raised by one of these people and brought up in this world. And it's a revenge flick, man. It's just like, it's got Ben Kingsley in it, and Ben Kingsley's
But you
role
don't even
is
know that
so
until the end of the movie.
You don't, no.
You know, that was a little bit of a spoiler, but no, this is definitely an enjoyable watch. It's a very short and energetic, fun, interesting movie that just is a really easy watch.
Oh, did I mention
definitely worth watching?
Did I mention Morgan Freeman and Bruce Willis are also in this film?
Oh gosh, how can you forget?
So good.
Yeah.
It's such a good film.
Yeah.
Definitely if you haven't seen Lucky Number 11, put yourself out there. Find this film. Jay, what else you got?
Finally, I have Ruby Sparks. Came out in 2012.
A film that was mentioned in our listener feedback.
This is an interesting movie. This is like a fantasy dramedy of sorts. Paul Dano, he's the star, and he creates a girlfriend played by Zoe Kazan, and she is the writer of this movie. And they're also a couple in real life, still to this day.
It's very Lars.
This is original, like
I've never
straight
seen
up
it.
original.
So the way you're describing it, Lars and the real girl, kind of like he just like creates this, or is it more like?
But they're like a fantasy element, like a troubled writer.
Okay.
And somehow he's doing his fantasy, he's getting his frustrations out by fantasy writing.
Okay, so
and he has writer's block, and then all of a sudden it comes to real life.
So instead of personifying a mannequin or a sex doll
right.
this is all existing through fiction and in his own head, sort of.
No, but also in real life.
Okay.
No, I mean she's real. He's still creating her. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like she's not aware of it so much, but like
so it's weird science.
Everybody can see her. Yeah,
it's weird science meets mannequin.
It's very bizarre. Kind of, yeah. It's very bizarre.
All right,
but it works, and it's so well written, and it's so well acted, of course, because these guys are awesome. And Paul Dano still surprises me. I don't know why he keeps surprising me. I keep saying that. Honestly, think about it, guys. He looks pretty much the same in every single role that he plays, but he morphs into those characters, and he delivers 100% in every single role, even if it's a silly little Mission Impossible movie. And, this movie is completely enjoyable and
you're recommending
very smartly written.
One of our listeners has recommended it. It's
Absolutely.
something I feel like I need to see. I do enjoy
I think you would.
And I really liked movies like Her and Lars and a Real Girl. So it's kind of like in that vein.
It is in that vein. It is in that vein.
I'll definitely check it out. Before I move into my film that is completely underrated and I feel like more people need to check out. Jay, do you have any honorable mentions you want to throw out there? Anything to just briefly?
I mean, there's plenty out there. I've really had a difficult time remembering all the movies I think that are underrated. I'm kind of frustrated I can't remember them all. You brought up Brick, for example. That would have been on my list for sure because I adore that movie.
For me, one of them is, I'll just go through a couple other ones. Looper. I think Looper is a very smart sci-fi film. I think it's very well acted. I think the makeup on
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's
face
pretty great.
I thought it was great, but I think it took away from the film. I think people
it didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me though.
I also think that, it didn't have strong enough marketing, and I don't think it has a good story, but it's not strong enough of a story. I don't think it went sci-fi enough. I don't think it went weird enough for people.
I know what you're going with, yeah.
Another one for me is an animated film that I've loved. I've loved it since I was a kid. It's something that I think is underrated in the animated film world, probably because it stars such a classic character. I'm talking about a Goofy movie, man. Do you remember a Goofy movie?
No.
Oh my God. A Goofy movie where he takes his son Max on a road trip. It is in the line of Goof Troop, which was an animated TV series that was on at the time. There is a sequel to it that was streaming on Netflix for a long time, Goofy Movie Extreme, which is nowhere near as heartfelt and as well done as a Goofy movie. And then finally, I have just two more I'm going to mention real briefly. I have Ex Machina with Domhnall Gleeson. And
good choice.
Yeah, and Oscar Isaac.
And that was probably our most recent film release that has been a little underappreciated and underlooked. I think so. For the mainstream. Obviously, the film lovers all know about this movie. We all adore it. But the mainstream audience missed it.
Definitely,
and it's
definitely
a great movie.
Definitely should have won more Oscars than it did. I think it won one Oscar. But definitely should have been on the radar for original screenplay and definitely such a mind fuck, such a twist.
Yeah, Alicia Vikander was nominated, I believe, for the other movie instead of Ex Machina.
Yes, the Danish Girl.
The Danish Girl. Thank you.
My final movie that I really want to talk about. I mean, there's so many more. We could talk about this all day.
Oh, I know.
Films.
There are a ton.
Mine was mentioned by one of our listeners but Dread 3D, man. Dread fucking... Don't even call it Dread 3D, because 3D is what killed this film.
It's true.
3D in the title is what I really believe killed this film. I mean, not only that, they didn't do enough in their marketing to separate it from the Stallone Dread. I remember going to see it, and a lot of people thought this was a sequel. They thought Stallone was going to show up. They're like, where's Stallone? Why hasn't Stallone come to talk to the new Dread? And it's like, he's not the new Dread. I mean, this is a more true telling of the comic book story, and not even that. This is a fucking balls to the wall action film with awesome cinematography. It goes a little heavy on the slow-mo every now and then, but they explain that. Like, I love the fact that the slow-mo isn't done. It might be gratuitous, but it's not done to ill effect. It's done to the effect that this is what the drug does to you, you know? And those scenes are really fucking cool. You could have dropped the 3D from this film and you still have a beautiful tapestry of a post-apocalyptic future world in which, you know, one guy can be judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
Carl Urban played Dredd perfectly. Like, if you take a picture of Carl Urban close up with that scowl on his face and you put it right next to original art for the fucking book, dude.
Spot on.
It is spot fucking on. It is done so fucking well. And it's such a simple story. Get from the bottom floor to the top floor and take out the bad guy. It's
amazing.
And everything that happens in between, it's so good. And I
so
think,
simple and so effective.
And having 3D in the name is what really killed it, because Shark Night 3D, Piranha 3D, My Bloody Valentine 3D, these are all movies that came out right around it in the wake of Avatar, in the wake of that whole 3D resurgence in the theaters. It came out at that time where people were starting to get fatigued on it. It didn't market itself enough to make it stand out.
I think it came out in August. I feel like it was late summer, early fall.
I went and saw this film by myself because at the time, and it was completely, you know, serendipitous that at the time I was buying 2000 AD comics on Amazon. I was buying Dredd Compendium because it was something I was really enjoying. I was reading Dredd versus Predator, and I happened to see a trailer for this film. I was like, oh fuck, they're rebooting it. Yeah, let me go see it. There were planned sequels. They really thought they had a hit on their hands. And honestly, they could have, but the marketing just wasn't behind it. It just didn't have the right marketing, but fuck, it's really good. So you need to get yourself out there. You need to check out Dredd 3D.
All right, I agree.
If you haven't already. I think in our podcast community, people have all seen it.
I think most have. But I don't think everybody has.
Yeah, but if you haven't, it's worth your watch. It's worth your time.
Definitely. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I mean, I really would love to just revisit this again and just have a whole other list, because there would be a whole other list, because there's so many movies out there that we watch over the years that it's hard to remember sometimes, and when it pops in your head sometimes, you just gotta jot it down and remember them and rewatch them. Just popped right now in my head. The Ice Harvest.
Oh my God, Ice Harvest.
Oh my God.
Fucking love that movie.
That movie I have to watch every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie is just...
John Cusack, Randy Quaid, fucking...
Literally just came to me right
Billy
now.
Bob Thornton.
That would be on my list.
It's an awesome movie.
I love that movie. A lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Be sure to stay tuned next week in episode 52, where me and Jay, instead of Indie Corner, are going to talk about Bone Tomahawk. Also, make sure that if you're enjoying the show, you go into iTunes, you leave us a 5-star review, you let us know what you're enjoying about the show. If you do that, be sure to screenshot it and email it to supermoviebrotherspodcast@gmail.com. That will enter you into the running to win this month's Loot Crate. Also, check us out at www.podfixnetwork.com. That is our network website. That's where you can find updates about us, monthly schedules for us, and all the shows that are on there. You can also find original reviews for films on there. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod.
And check us out on Facebook. Hit me up if you want to leave some feedback, comments, whatever you want to do.
And if you want to start checking out our beer reviews, Jay's going to be running the Untapped app for us.
Yes.
So download.
So stay tuned for that.
If you're a big beer fan, download the Untapped app. You can find us on there. You can also find Epic Film Guys on there. They have a massive list of beers that they've been drinking over the years. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We want to thank everyone for listening to us. If you haven't already checked it out, check out our Spider-Man Homecoming review. Jay also does a brief Baby Driver review in that. And also, please go check out our anniversary episodes, part 1 and part 2. We had a ton of...
Thanks for continuing, listening to us. I mean, this is awesome, and we love doing this. Again, this is a hell of a fun show to talk about and record. And we do it for you. We do it for us. We do it for...
Jay's mom.
And my mom, apparently. I mean...
You got to get right with God. So thanks a lot for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.